Hey guys, what's up? Hope you guys are doing well, and today we got a fun one here. Today we have a video that I've been really wanting to make here for a little bit, and the video is, do people actually play the games that they buy or games that they download? And the main reason this kind of popped into my head was earlier this year I made a game called The Value of Games, or the Equation of the Value of Games, and in this video I kind of discussed what's the value of a game to you, and when you play a game and complete a game, or like how much value do you get out of a game after playing it? And I made a little equation about this. I have the video up here. I'll put it up in the pop-up card here. But so I made that video earlier this year, and it got me thinking about, okay, do people value their games, and if they do, are they completing them? And then to piggyback off of that, a few weeks ago I made a video called uh like, was it a mistake to only be platinuming games for a whole year? So in 2025, I mainly played games to platinum them. So I went ahead and platinumed, I forgot what it was. Maybe it was like 18 or something like that games last year, or maybe it was 26. I forgot the actual number of games that I platinumed. But I started looking at the trophy data for this stuff, and was seeing like, oh wow, these trophy percentages are kind of low for the amount of people that are playing these games and talking about these games. So I wanted to look more into this, and to kind of like counteract like what I'm talking about in this video, I wanted to show you or discuss that I'm not perfect at this. I don't complete every single game that I purchased or download, but I'm mainly focusing on PlayStation 5 for this video. I might have more videos in the pipeline in the future for other ideas, but for right now we're mainly focusing on PS5. So for me, I have installed and purchased like 103 PlayStation 4 and 5 games that I've played on my PS5. So out of those 103 games, I've only haven't completed 13 games. So depending on the game, like a game like Call of Duty, you say, like I would say is I mainly play Call of Duty for the multiplayer. So there's like multiplayer trophies where you can judge, okay, if a person is actually playing this game, they probably would have gotten like this trophy or whatever. So for multiplayer games, I'm focusing on like the multiplayer only trophies. And then for single player games, I'm focusing on the last trophy that you get for completing the story. So for a game like Spider-Man, it's like, oh, beat the final boss of Spider-Man 2. And that would be the trophy I'm going off of to get like this data. So in this video, I set up a few rules. So one of the rules, like I said earlier, it has to be on PS5. And the only game in this list that isn't only on PS5 is Call of Duty, since Call of Duty's on everything, but it's a game that has good data, and it's not the greatest data, but it has, most people play Call of Duty only for multiplayer. So I wanted to pick a few games that were multiplayer only and are pretty big games. The next rule I kind of set up here was it has to not be a free-to-play game. Like, you need to have a little bit of skin in the game to like have good data for this. So you have to be able to buy the game and not just get it free to play. Because if it's free to play, you just have to install it and play one game, or disinstall it, and then the trophy data is there 0% on every trophy. So that's why I mainly wanted to say full purchase games only. And then the next rule I kind of set here was initial sales kind of have to be over. So the game has to be out for a few months, because like a lot of people, like, you can't just pick a game that came out yesterday. So the trophy data isn't going to be the greatest for a game that just came out, like say a few weeks ago or yesterday. So I kind of judged it off of, it needs to be out for a few months, and then kind of like a holiday season. So the newest game on this list I have here is Battlefield 6. So the game came out in like October, and the first holiday season is over. So most players have already picked up this game. I know more will pick it up on sales and stuff like that, but the initial sales rush is kind of over. And the next thing, like I said earlier, it not to be a free-to-play game, but it can't be on PlayStation Plus. So I'm trying to pick games that people actually have to purchase. I know PlayStation Plus, you're paying for a subscription, but it's still a less barrier to entry if you're just downloading games and trying them. And then my last one is there has to be some kind of hype about these games. So a game like Spider-Man, like a game like Spider-Man, people buy PlayStation 5s just to play Spider-Man 2. So that's why I chose that. And then kind of going off of that too is the reason why I'm only picking PS5 is because if a game came out on PS4, like story-wise, say like a game like I don't know, Resident Evil Village. Like that game came out on PS4 and PS5. And if you bought the PS4 edition, a lot of times these games have an upgrade path to where you can upgrade the game for free or maybe like $5, and then you can play it on your PS5 for cheap or for free. But a lot of these story games you don't want to play multiple times in a row. So if you beat it on PS4 and you're like, oh, the game was great and I had a good time and whatever, and then you download the PS5 version whenever you buy a PS5, maybe you're like, oh, I got my fill on PS4. I only want to play a mission or two and see what the graphics look like. It gives you a reason not to finish the game. So I'm trying to only pick games that are on PS5 to avoid any issues like that. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the first game here. These first two games here are PlayStation first party games. So they're exclusive to PlayStation 5 and they're like marquee titles for when you have a PS5. So if you have a PS5, you probably have these games, or this is a reason why you bought a PS5. So the first game, like I mentioned earlier, Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is, like what I said, it's a system seller. It's one of the biggest games that Sony makes. So the Metacritic for Spider-Man 2 is 90. It has a 90 Metacritic score. So that's really high. Anything in the 90s means that's a must-play game. So with that being said, I looked up some like information on these games and how long it takes to beat them and stuff like that. So for Spider-Man 2, it takes roughly 17 to 19 hours to beat, which really isn't that long. Like if you're buying a game for $70 and you're only going to play it for 17 to 19 hours, like, yeah, like that seems like you can get your money's worth for that, but it seems kind of low. So if you're only beating it to beeline the story, that's not really that long. But so for the final boss trophy, like for beating the game, it's 53% completion rate, which that's actually probably the highest number on this list today. So for a game that's super popular like this, only 53% of people have actually beat the game, which is kind of an interesting number. It's like you would think it would be higher. You'd think it'd be maybe in like the 60s or the 70s at least, because there's new people trying these games all the time. So you know the number's never going to be 100%. So you would still think it would be higher than 53. But this is a number. 53 is more than majority. So more than half the people have beaten this game on PS5, which is like it is high for this list, but it seems low in general. You would think it'd be more. And then the next game on this list, or for these first two games, is Astro Bot. Astro Bot was a huge game. It won Game of the Year in 2024. It has a Metacritic of 94, and it only takes 10 to 12 hours to beat. And I know platformers kind of have, like, a lot of people don't, like, maybe they don't enjoy platformers. It's kind of an old style of game, but you would think more people would be able to get through this game if you're only doing the main story of the game. Just get from point A to point B in each level. It only takes 10 to 12 hours. And the completion rate for beating this game is 48%. So that's still kind of low. Like less than half the people who have purchased this game, because this game isn't on PlayStation Plus or anything like that, is only 48%. And you would think more people would want to get through the whole game at least. And I think even platinuming this game, it only takes like 20 hours. So it must just be that maybe people don't enjoy platformers anymore or whatever. But it seems like that's a pretty low number for a game that got such high praise from everybody. The other thing that I kind of got to think about was maybe a lot of people on the internet, like if you're watching this video, you're probably pretty plugged into video games. Like you probably beat most of your games, but maybe it's just the casuals, people who just buy games, maybe like 1 or 2 games a year. Maybe they're just not actually beating their games at all, or they may buy these games or borrow it from a friend and try it one time and then that's it. But you would think these numbers would be higher for games that have such high praise. But yeah, let's move on to the next section here. I picked 2 games that are multiplayer focused. So these ones I didn't really look into the single players because I know those numbers are going to be crazy low. But the first one here is Battlefield 6. So that came out in 2025 around, I think in like October or November time. And it has an 83 Metacritic, which is pretty high for a Battlefield. It's a fun game, but it's mainly only a multiplayer game. And this one has never been on PSN, so there shouldn't be any like There shouldn't be any weird like numbers with people who are just trying it out for like a day or whatever. So I picked 2 multiplayer trophies for this. And I picked one for like rank. So the trophy I picked was completion rate for getting to rank 25. So that's the highest rank trophy in Battlefield. So it's based off like level. So it's getting to level 25 in multiplayer, like getting XP, getting like score and stuff like that. So that really doesn't take that long. I would say it probably takes like maybe 15 hours tops, but it really doesn't take that much time. But for that, only 26% of people have made it to level 25 or rank 25 in Battlefield, which is kind of crazy. Like the main reason to play Battlefield is multiplayer. And you would think that more than 26% of players would make it to rank 25. And the next one here, to kind of counteract that, where it's like, okay, that might be kind of high getting to rank 25. This one is completion rate for getting 129 kills. So 129 kills, I mean, for Battlefield really isn't that much. And it's not 129 kills in one match, it's just all together. So say you play Conquest in Battlefield, a 1,000 ticket match in Conquest is, you can probably get 20 to 50 kills in just one match in Conquest. I mean, that's if you're really good. I mean, 50 kills is a lot for most players in one match of Conquest, but it's definitely doable. But that's only one match, right? So even if you play like, I don't know, 10 matches of Conquest, you would hope that you could get 20 kills a match. Or I mean, yeah, it's just crazy that that's such a low amount of kills. And I know not everyone who plays Battlefield maybe not only want to get kills because you're trying to play the objective, or maybe you are an engineer and you only want to repair tanks and play your support role. But you would think that more people would be able to get this trophy. I know I'm kind of delaying it, but so the completion percentage for that is 33% of players have gotten 129 kills in Battlefield, and that's for multiplayer. So a game that's mainly focused on multiplayer, only 33% of players have gotten 129 kills in total, their whole, I guess, career or time playing the game. That's pretty low for a game that's mainly multiplayer. But yeah, it's just interesting seeing these numbers, how low they are for the amount of people that are playing these games. Okay, and this one, the next game here, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, this one's kind of a red herring because it is on PS4, so that's kind of dings it. So people could buy it on PS4 and then upgrade to PS5, which that could taint some numbers. And then also there's one other issue with this game is that I think they've done multiple free weekends with this game. So the numbers aren't the greatest for this, but it's still a good like point of reference for this idea for this video. So this game will never be free on PSN since it's owned by Microsoft. And I picked 2 trophies, the same thing I did for Battlefield. I picked a rank trophy and an eliminations trophy. So the first trophy here is Enter Prestige 1. And I know for entering Prestige, a lot of players who do play Call of Duty, sometimes they don't want to Prestige. They'll just get to the max level and then they'll just stay at like level 55 or whatever the highest is. So I know that this percentage might be low because of those type of players. So for this, entering Prestige 1, it would be 15% of players have made it to Prestige 1. So that's kind of low, I think, personally, for a game that gets millions and millions of people playing. But I looked this up online and it said it takes around 13 to 15 hours without double XP to get to Prestige 1. And yeah, that seems about right. I mean, you would think if you got this game and you bought it day one and you played it for, like, say you played it for a month every day for an hour or two, you could definitely get to Prestige 1 no problem. So that's a pretty low percentage, 15%. But the next one here is to counteract the whole issue with if you make it to the highest level and you don't want to Prestige. The next one is get 500 eliminations. That really shouldn't take like that much time. And if you're playing the game, if you're spending $70 on the game, you would think you would at least want to get 500 eliminations just from playing Team Deathmatch and all these other game modes. You could, like, Call of Duty's main point to play the game is to get eliminations. It's not like Battlefield where most people in Battlefield not everybody, but a lot of people like to play the objective. Like, that's the whole point of playing Battlefield. But for Call of Duty, most people want to get kill streaks and get all these things. So it's like, that's the main gameplay loop for Call of Duty. And the percentage for that trophy is only 20% of players have gotten 500 eliminations, which I think is just so low for a game that most people only pick up Call of Duty to play the multiplayer. So I should have looked at the single player trophies, but I bet you the single player trophies are super low because nobody's playing the single player for a lot of these Call of Duty games. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next section here. The next section of games here that I wanted to discuss was third-party games that were only on PS5. So the first game here is Space Marine 2. I remember when this game first came out, it was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it on the internet. And I was like, okay, I've never played a Space Marine game, so I definitely picked this one up. And I had a lot of fun with it. It felt kind of like a Gears of War, like the play style, it felt like Gears of War. And it was a cool world. The art is cool, the story's cool, and it's fun. It's a fun game to play. And the time to beat the single player for this game, it's 9 to 12 hours, which that kind of tracks with me. I platinumed this game last year, and the hardest or the longest trophy in that game was I think it was like get 40,000 kills across all game modes, and that took me forever to do. But just to beat the game, it really didn't take that long at all, and you would think more people would get through at least the story, but it kind of tracks with what I said earlier, was only 46% of players have gotten the last trophy for the story in Space Marine 2. So it seems like that's kind of like the running theme of most players who purchase these games or play these games, less than half of the people actually end up beating them, which I think is crazy. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, like video games are getting more expensive, everything's getting more expensive, and you think more people would actually want to play all the way through the game. Like if I was just to guess, like off the top of my head, I would think like at least 70% of people beat the games that they play, but it seems like this like 45 to 55% is like the sweet spot of what people actually are beating their games. But Space Marine has another component to it. It's not just a single player game, it's also a multiplayer game too. It's kind of a simple multiplayer. So I know maybe a lot of people aren't going to Space Marine to play like PvP style multiplayer, but since I platinumed it, I was like, okay, I have to do these multiplayer trophies. So I did them, and I picked 2 multiplayer trophies. The first one is win any match in Eternal War, which Eternal War is like a mosh pit. So it's like a mosh pit of team deathmatch, capture the flag, and then I think like maybe like a search and destroy type mode where it's like if you die, you're out for the round or something. I don't remember the third mode, but you just need to win one match in this mode, and you don't have to be good to win a match. You can kind of just join a match and hopefully your team's good and you just get carried. So the percentage for that is 22%. 22% of players that have installed this game and played it have won one single match in this Eternal War. And Eternal War is kind of like the main mode that a lot of people play in this game. So you would think more people would have at least won one match. And then the next trophy here is play 10 matches in Eternal War. So just, you don't have to win, you just have to play them. So these games kind of range between like 10 to 12 minutes per match. And if your team is really good or you're losing and the other team's really good, like you can end these matches in like maybe like 5 to 8 minutes. So it depends on like who you're playing with, but only 9% of players have played 10 matches of Eternal War, which that's such a low number. You would think more people would play, or a higher percentage of players would at least play 10 matches online. Especially for these games, if they're $50, $60, $70 for a game, you'd think people would want to get more for their money instead of just buying a game and only playing like a little piece of it. But I know multiplayer is not for everybody, but it's just crazy seeing such a low percentage for a pretty easy. I'm not saying like trophies matter or whatever, but that's an easy trophy to get, or that's just a simple one to get just if you're just playing the game. So 9% is pretty low. Moving on to the last game here I kind of wanted to discuss was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I know this game is, at the moment, it's a PS5 exclusive, but it's not a Sony first-party game. And maybe this is a system seller, but it kind of seems like, based on all the things that you read online, it didn't sell as much as Square Enix wanted. But a lot of the dedicated fans, I would think, would want to play through this game all the way from start to finish. And for this game, it has a 92 Metacritic, which that's pretty high. A 92 Metacritic, it's above a 90, and you would think so with a Metacritic that high and that high reviews, you would think a lot of people would want to play this game. And for the last trophy in the story, only 44% of players have beaten the game. So that's pretty low number of players that have gotten through this game. And then the length to beat this game is around 35 to 40 hours. And that's just a story. I know a lot of people have issues with this game, saying it's too bloated and all this and that, but I got the platinum for this game, and the platinum for this game, you have to beat the game on hard mode to do the platinum. So my second playthrough of the game, I just did a beeline from start to finish on hard mode, and I think it took me around that time. It took me around 35 to 40 hours to beat it on hard mode. So if you're really beelining in the game, it's really not that bloated, I don't think personally, but I still think 44% is pretty low for a pretty beloved game. Like it's Final Fantasy VII, so you'd think people would want to beat the game and get to the end. And to close out this video here, I think it's pretty interesting looking at this trophy data, and I've never really looked into the percentages like this since last year. I really did focus on getting as many platinums as I could last year. So after seeing like all these percentages, since I was really focusing on it, I'm like, wow, it's so crazy that such low percentages of people are actually completing their games and actually playing them. And let me re-emphasize this. I'm not trying to come at people for not playing their games. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I bought and installed 103 games only in the PS5 generation on my PS5, and I haven't completed 13 of them. So there are games that I have in my library that I bought for $70, and I only played maybe 5 hours of them, and I haven't completed them. So I'm not guilt-free of this or innocent of doing this too. So it's like it's just interesting seeing the data, and you would just think with how expensive the games are getting, you would think that people would want to play them all the way through, especially for these bigger games that I've listed here. Another thing I kind of wanted to see was, I wish there was trophy data or kind of data like this for consoles before the PS3 and Xbox 360, since those were the first generations that we had trophies and data like this. It would be cool to see, okay, how many people did beat like Metal Gear Solid 1 or Metal Gear Solid 3 on the PS2, because those were huge games, right? And it would be cool to see how far people actually got in those type of games. And then even further in the past, like games on like the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, games like Mega Man X or games like Super Mario World, how many people actually got to the end of these games during that time? It would be cool to see the data on that, but we're never going to know, since game consoles didn't have telemetry like that back in the day. But it's just a cool thought experiment, and kind of would be interesting to know that stuff. And with that being said, what do you guys think of this video idea? Do you think this is a right way to measure or talk about people playing games, like looking at the multiplayer trophies or looking at the single player story trophies? Do you think this is a good measurement of seeing how far people are getting in their games, and if they're actually valuing them or getting the most out of their games if they're getting so expensive? And let me know in the comments if you guys are completing all your games, or how far you guys are getting in your games, and why you're putting them down. Are certain games just not holding your attention, or is multiplayer not for you? But yeah, and then we'll go ahead and close this video out. Leave a like if you like this video. I'm thinking of doing more of these in the future, and then leave a comment. See you guys in the next video. Bye for now.